every day we are, studying the Bible, listening to spiritual messages, but especially during this special time of meeting with our God for a full restoration, we need to focus as well on issues that may not be seen, psychiatric and emotional issues or situations or challenges that we may know nothing about, but yet they are present. How do we know this? How can we tell? Is why we are here, and where can we go for help? Above all, can we be restored? Those are the $1,000,000 questions that we are asking this afternoon. And so I'd like our speakers to introduce themselves.
Yeah, I think Dr. Joyce can go ahead to introduce herself. Lois's network seems to have glitched a bit.
Okay. So, dear viewers and listeners, I'm Dr. Joyce Naluja. I work with Mulak Hospital. I am a psychiatrist. Over to you, Evelyn.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Yes, our viewers, listeners, my name is Evelyn Connie Harono Lufafa. I use that name Harono because sometimes when I'm writing in the media, I use Harono. Lufafa is my husband's name. And currently I'm working with Makerere University at the Counseling and Guidance Center. And I also do private practice. I have my own practice called Samotherapy Counseling Foundation. Yeah, I work with young people, with students, and yeah, you can imagine their age, even teenagers. That's what I do for now.
Okay. Is Lois back? I think we can continue. She will get us.
Yeah, since you are the one leading the discussion, you can, I think, start, and then I'll come in, do your presentation, then I'll come in.
Okay, I think it's better we break it into smaller bits that people can really accommodate. Okay, so we are talking about mental health, and we said earlier that a human being, for us to be complete, we have both physical and mental health. And as WHO defines it, that health is not just the absence of disease, it's a complete physical and mental, social, economic, not just the absence of disease, including the spiritual health. All of these parts of health are important. And we are saying that much as all of us have mental health, we have said, right from the baby, to the elderly, we have mental health that has to be protected. So as we have physical problems, we fall sick, our body falls sick. In the same way, our mental health can get affected, and we get mental problems or mental disorders. Mental disorders are common. I said earlier that many people define mental disorders as madness by looking at people maybe who they find on the street, and they think that they are the only ones with mental health problems or mental disorders. And we said that those people we see on the streets, they are just a tip of an iceberg. They are very few compared to those who have mental disorders. In fact, research is showing that if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, like all of us here, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, at least one of us will have had a mental health problems in their lifetime. Yeah. When you talk about children and adolescents, for example, 20 out of 100, yeah, that is almost 1/4, will have a mental disorder that needs treatment. Yeah. But unfortunately, most of these people, both young and old, they are not seen. Majority suffer silently. And I think that's why we are here. So we talked about those disorders which can be seen. For example, if you have a child who has an attention hyperactivity problem, they will be seen because they will be all over the place. Yeah, they will be seen. But even then, even when they are seen, do they reach the services? Are they brought to hospital? No. People always say, I think that child is only stubborn. They'll get well as they grow up. True, they may get well on the side of hyperactivity, but the inattentiveness may continue. And you find that even when children are intelligent, they may fail to continue just because they have this inattentiveness. And then the risks do really increase. Yeah. They're the kind of people you find as adolescents stealing their parents' cars and drive without permission and get involved in accidents, people working on impulses. Yeah. So we need to understand some of these disorders and say, oh, hang on, maybe could this be a problem that can be helped by the health system? Yeah. So I think today we may not talk about all the disorders because there are just too many, but I think we need to focus today. Let us start by focusing on the emotional disorders, what we term as silent killers. I want us to focus on depression. Evelyn has talked about anxiety, but let us focus on depression because it's really a silent killer, which affects all sorts of people, of all age groups, of all socioeconomic strata. What is depression? Depression is a disorder or a problem of emotions, of feelings, that a person, it's not just sadness that, oh, you lost. When we lose our loved one, we are not expected to be happy. Or when we lose our jobs, or when we have so many losses in life. We failed exams at school if they are children or students. We can't be happy. But because we are not depressed, that sadness does not stay for long. When we get support, things which make us happy, we shall be happy, we shall gain our happiness. But when depression strikes, the person who has been affected, and I'm talking about depression as a disease, when it strikes, you may wonder if it is a student, for example, and I said that mental disorders do not discriminate between rich and poor or young and old. So when depression strikes, and for example, this is a student coming from a well-supported family, parents may start blaming themselves and asking, what have I not done? What haven't I given this daughter of mine or this son of mine? Yeah. But it's not that. It is depression that has struck. The person is feeling sad most of the time for 2 or more weeks. Yeah. They have lost interest in the things that they used to enjoy. When it comes to sleep, there are changes in sleep. Others, especially young people, may sleep more Others may sleep very little. They have what we call insomnia. I don't want us to go into complicated terms, but that change in sleep can be very disturbing. Someone can go to bed and they cannot get that sleep. They stay awake until maybe around 3 a.m. That's when they'll get some little sleep. Others may stay awake and sleep very late for a few hours. Others may stay awake for the whole night. Can you imagine not being able to sleep, not only one night, not two, but 1 week after another, and yet your friends in the house are sleeping? In addition to changes in sleep, there are changes in appetite. Sometimes people will eat everything that comes their way, everything that's in the fridge or whatever, but they don't find happiness, it's just eating. In many cases, there is loss of appetite. People eat for the sake. You are not really enjoying what you are eating. And because of that loss of appetite, people might lose weight to the extent that these days we are not in the, when HIV had just started, before the era of antiretrovirals and the proper counseling and all that, people would really suffer so much that even when people are depressed, they think, oh, this person, maybe they have HIV, AIDS, yeah? So people might be wondering what is happening to this person. They are losing weight, yeah? But because people are not enjoying life, they have lost appetite. Even when they eat, they're just forcing themselves to eat. When it comes to, like, for people, I said some people might be overeating. They are putting on lots of weight. And when we see them, we are laughing at them. We are like, ah, what happened? You woman, you man. Because there is no physical problem that is seen. When it gets worse, as the depression gets worse, people might develop what we call hallucinations. Hallucinations, that's a complicated term, but people might start hearing voices when there is no one talking. They are alone, but you are hearing someone speaking to you. Or seeing strange things, strange people, and these things they are seeing or hearing or smelling or touch, like feeling, being caught by someone, they are in keeping with the way that person feels. Like, for example, if I'm feeling sad, maybe I should have, I think I told you earlier that what we think and what we feel affects the way we behave. Yeah. So the way we think affects the way we feel, and that affects the way we behave. So if we are feeling sad, it's affecting the way we think. When you tend to think negatively about yourself and about the future. Yeah. When you try to think about the future, you see yourself as a failure. You look at yourself as suffering. Even when your friends love you, you're like, ah, maybe I'm disturbing them, maybe I'm a burden to them. Yeah. And that affects the way we behave. So we tend to isolate ourselves. We want to be left in our own. We want, now you tell them, you have a visitor, Joyce, you have a visitor, and you're like, ah, no, tell them, I'll see them later. Maybe they have come for you to go and play netball, something you used to enjoy. You say, then you start procrastinating. You do this, no, I'll do that maybe the following day or the other week. So when that depression gets tough, you are starting to hear voices when you are alone. You are starting to see things which other people do not see, but for you can see your mother who died many years ago, your grandfather who used to love you, but they died. They are calling you to join them. That kind of thinking in line, in keeping with the way you feel. And then when the suffering, it is you suffering, but you think that you're suffering a lot and you really see this life as not worth living. And that's why you see more people resorting to killing themselves. When it comes to married people, because depression can cause you, like, you lose appetite for food. Married people can also lose that desire for sex, and that can cause domestic violence. People are fighting in the homes because of depression. If depression for students who are at school, you see that a person who used to perform well, because these mental disorders, one of the signs is that you see people deteriorating. People who used to perform well, they are no longer performing as they used to perform. Yeah. For students, it might be that they are losing, because depression is affecting your ability to concentrate, to pay attention. So when you don't pay attention, you are reading, say, a book chapter, something you used to read and understand and make your own notes. You can't focus. And because you are not paying attention, you cannot remember this information you are reading, which is leading to your decline in academic performance. So what happens? Failure at school, but no one is seeing, no one is looking through these eyes of the person with depression to say, Joyce used to be like this. What is happening? That emotional problem is causing lots of problem and lots of deterioration in functioning. Yeah. So it is a huge problem. I'm talking about depression, but there are also other mental health problems like anxiety. Yeah. So these silent conditions affect more people than the loud ones. Yeah. These silent conditions like depression, anxiety, it is the sufferer who really knows the magnitude of suffering. But the people who see them may just laugh, may not understand that actually this person can be taken to hospital. Talking about where can people get help? People with mental disorders, we have hospitals from all levels, like Health Center 3, Health Center 4, the general hospitals, regional referral hospitals, Mulago National Referral Hospital, Butabika National Referral Hospitals. In all these places, people with mental health problems can get help. But the challenge is stigma. Talk about taking someone to Butabika, it is like a crime. But we go there and treat people. So I think what we need to understand in this session before I leave is that we need to get to understand people. We have our relatives in the families. There is no family that is safe from having mental health problems or people with mental health problems. But when we ask people, some of these mental disorders run in families, yeah? But when we ask, do you have anyone in your family who has ever? No. But you talk about someone who maybe was bewitched, they will say yes, yeah? So stigma is affecting, is stopping people from accessing health services, mental health services. So I will be leaving a little earlier, but I'll welcome maybe if there are questions. Okay, I'll be able to leave by 4:30. Yeah, I see Louise has posted that I leave by 4:30. Sorry that I'll be leaving a little sooner, but there are many challenges which were unforeseen. Over to you, Louise or Evelyn.
indeed.
All right, thank you. Okay, Lois is here. Sorry, Lois, about the network glitch.
That's all right. We would like to thank you very much indeed for those submissions that you have. Very, very important and very grave. Like you said, people don't even want to say anything about the possibility of somebody being mentally unwell. And yet we can say, oh, she has malaria or she has COVID. But having a mental unwellness challenge is such a no-go area. And this is why we are here today, to say that it is possible and it is all right for myself not to be well, to be depressed and to be getting treatment for that. And the fact that I was not well last year does not mean I'm not going to be well this year. Is that right, Dr. Nalija? Yes. Do people
Yeah,
with
sure.
unwellness become better? Is there a possibility of that?
Yeah, and I think, thank you, Lois, for that question. Actually, these disorders, like for example, I'm talking about depression, they can be self-limiting. It can take you through a year or 9 months or 6 months, and it gets over. But what we go through, you wouldn't want your friend or your relative to go through that, okay? People need to be protected, and people do not need to suffer, because yes, we are talking about medicine, but as Evelyn will tell you, the time we get out our medicine, it is severe. We treat the moderate to severe cases, yeah? But majority of people with, like, for example, depression, or majority will benefit from what we call talk treatments, talk therapies, yeah? Talking with a professional. Like I talked about people's thinking, that negative thinking. People's, you can be helped to get back to your positive thinking when you are working with a therapist, okay? So people should not suffer. People should not suffer. But when it reaches, like I think Evelyn talked about it earlier, that if you have, she called it loss of touch with reality. For example, when someone is hearing voices, you can't argue with them that, for me, I'm not hearing those voices. And yet for them, they are hearing the voices. They have lost touch with reality. So for you to bring them back, you have to give medicines. You can't just talk that one out. You have to give them medicine. And as I said earlier, for us, we work as a team. Yeah. So after treating, yes, people will have to be helped to get back to their positive thinking. Yeah. But also, before I go into that, even the families, however little we are able to do, even if we don't understand these mental disorders, yeah, let us do it. But the best we can do is to support that person to get access to hospital, you remember, because we are talking about now total health, you don't need to understand deeply what this person is suffering from, how it came about, where it came from. But what you are seeing is that this person is not behaving, or like there is something different from the way they were feeling before, or they were behaving before. Let us take that person to the professionals. Yeah. Just to do that. Let us understand our people, our friends, our colleagues. Yeah. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's very easy. It's easier said than done. Taking a person who may be struggling with a mental condition, just getting them to see or to seek professional help is, oh my goodness, a lot harder than, but of course,
I think it's, Lois, I think it's because we are waiting until it is severe. Yeah. And if we knew, like Evelyn is going to tell us here, if we knew that there is people who, because people fear hospital, even people with physical problems, you tell someone that, oh, your problem needs surgery.
Oh.
Yeah. They say, ah, you get it? But you know, when you have a problem, it's a problem. If it needs surgery, you can't. However long you know, you give it herbal, you do what. If it is a surgical condition, if you don't get surgery, it will get worse. Yeah. But you know, people fear hospitals. So what I'm saying is, if we knew where the services are, and we are able to identify these problems as early as possible, we may not need to reach Butavika. We may not need to reach Mulago because these hospitals are for severe cases, as Evelyn is telling you. Yeah. Okay. So it starts with the family, our relatives, the church members. Yeah. No, instead of, you know, we should be observant. I should be able to help our colleagues. Evelyn talked about insight. Yeah. Insight is when you know, yes, I have a problem and I need to be treated. Yeah. But if you have a problem and you are not able to tell that, this is a problem, then we say that you lack insight. Yeah. So for that person who doesn't have insight, we need to help them to seek health services as early as possible. Because those people you see on the streets, it's not small. Those people you see using substances, for example, some of them, if not majority, some of them start with these emotional problems. Someone cannot sleep. Yeah, they are seeing themselves as failures. If a person comes to tell them, oh, if you take this drug, or if you smoke this or do this, you will get better. Then they find themselves hooked on those substances. Yeah.
Okay. Indeed. Thank you for that. Well, reassurance, then we know. Evelyn, how do we get anybody to seek the help that we imagine or can see that they need?
Very interesting question. How do we get someone to seek for help? I think we'll still bend on mental health awareness because honestly speaking, and actually my presentation is surely Dr. Nal just made it even easy. It's about our emotional health. How does it affect us? And like she said, it starts with small things. Usually it's not the very big things that send people out of themselves. And once they're not handled early, you say in counseling, I would use counseling as an example. And I'm going to use the easier example. For example, if you have a teenager who is like raising some behavior, who has some behavioral issues, like maybe it's defiant, there is a reason. It cannot just come from out of the blue. And usually, if we see this child early enough, before they get off and go into maybe drugs or cope negatively, it's much easier than when they come too late. For psychological issues, people usually come for a postmortem. I'm sorry, I'm using that word. Like someone comes when they're in the acute, when a lot of damage has been done. Okay, if we borrow from the physical world, if someone has had a wound for the last, let me say 3 months, the wound is it's all I don't know which medical term to use. Dr. Nalja knows best. Maybe it is a certain state, and the doctor has to do a lot. Maybe they need to, they'll have to do a lot to be able to bring this person's wound to healing. It might take even longer than someone who gets a cut today and then rushes to hospital and gets medication and starts taking the medicine. They will heal faster because then they sought for help earlier. So are emotional illnesses. If someone has spent with the issue 5 years in and out, they are in pain, emotional pain. Truthfully speaking, you'll not see a counselor today and you think your problem is going to be solved tomorrow, because it has taken deep root. It has come up with very many other behaviors that we need to deal with. So it's just important for people to be aware. So I don't know, Lois, do you allow me to just start? Maybe when I begin presenting is when I'll be able to touch some of these things.
Please go ahead and do your presentation.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to share a slide. My background is of a teacher before I became a psychologist. So I'm used to using notes. So I might have to share my slides, but do not pay more attention to the slides. Pay attention to what I'll be saying more, but the slides are only to help me. Oh, okay. They're only to help me be able to follow what I'm presenting. I want to just ask Lois, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, Evelyn.
Okay, thank you so much. Right, so our topic was the unseen dangers to your health. And I love this topic because in most cases, emotional illnesses are unseen. When someone has a cut, they will easily see blood and they rush to a hospital. But if someone has an emotional wound, they'll coil in most cases, because I don't know, society, our cultures, our belief systems have taught us to not to show things that pain us inside. Usually we can show happy emotions. Those ones are very easy. The positive ones are very easy to show. But when it comes to the hard ones, the sad ones, we try to coil them, to freeze inside ourselves. So is this dangerous to us? So I say that there's an issue between physical health and mental health. Why are they both important? Much as mental health is as legitimate as physical illness, of course, many people are unwilling to confront struggles, their own struggles, those internal unseen issues that we do not see, because one feels I can still go on without any help. This will go, or if I speak, I'll be embarrassed. Like doctor was talking about people are suffering from COVID and they're not telling their friends. They will say, what will they think about our family? There's an old family that had COVID and they told their people to keep quiet, not to tell anyone, or else the whole village will keep commenting that we have COVID, you see? So you begin suffering within yourself. So because people believe that ignoring mental health issues will make them disappear, but this is rarely true. The thing is, yes, I may not know, or you may not know that Evelyn, I'm having an emotional pain, but the truth is it's there. And it will in one way or another surface, either in a very bad way or, So not attending to this makes it worse and is likely to affect you career-wise. For instance, if you have a toxic relationship, I'm just using this because relationships per se that bring us the most joy. When you're in a relationship, you have the utmost joy, you are happy. But at the same time, relationships also bring us a lot of heartache, okay? And now these are wide relationships. There can be a relationship between you and your family, your children, your parents, your husband or your wife or your workmates, because relationships are wide and we exist through relationships. We cannot do without them. And so if you are hurting, it will likely affect this. For example, if you have a toxic relationship and then you are battered every night, or you are emotionally abused, honestly speaking, if you're supposed to be at your office at 7 or 8 a.m. every day, you will not have, I doubt if you have the zeal, the vitality to kick your blanket at 6:30 and say, I'm going to work, because you're emotionally sick. There's something that is not right, meaning you go late to work. Now, already you're in a toxic relationship. Now you're going to meet a boss that is not happy with you because you're coming late. And then the boss is shouting at you, why did you come late? What? I'm going to give you a warning letter. Then the boss serves you the warning letter. You go back home to the same toxic relationship. Now you're going to transfer it to your children. You're either going to beat them up, or you're going to. I'm just trying to show you how much, even when you hide it, it will surface in most cases, disappointing way. So it will also affect the quality of life, because there's no way you'll take care of yourself when you're emotionally sick. In most cases, the glow of someone's face, even when you paint yourself with makeup and you put everything, the best wig on your head, tell you the truth be told, someone who is not emotionally happy will not have this glow. They will only have fake smiles. And today we have what we call this social media, Facebook. I'm tending to look there are times people can be quiet for 1 year, not going on Facebook. Then I tend to see them, they come out at once, post pictures, post statements, and they begin saying, life is not about being this and this. They are trying to cry out, but in a way that we should not know that they have a problem, you see? So at the end of the day, it will still surface. So even relationship, the quality of relationship will be affected. It is hard to admit that you need help or even own up to a professional diagnosis. For example, maybe you've been diagnosed with depression, but then you keep saying, you go into denial. No, me, I'm just like that. I don't just speak to people, But in most cases, speaking out can be the best way to approach recovery. Yeah, so that's why we're talking about being aware of your emotions. So hiding only makes the problem worse. That is on the part of this not wanting people to be aware or trying to solve your problems. So what are these unseen dangers? Of course, emotional pain is usually unseen and you can live with it. Well, you can go on, you can go to work, you can be in your family, you can exist. But like I've said, it will in one way or another erupt, or you end up in an acute state. So maybe people would love even to know, what are emotions? Because you're speaking about emotions. What are they? They are internal, they are internal felt reactions, they are triggered. They are usually triggered by a specific situation, maybe loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, having, I will give a small example. Last week I was somewhere and then someone came and blacked off, stole something on the top of the car. And let me tell you, this brought emotional pain to me. But because in a way I had to speak it out, and I said I really feel so bad about it. I had to really share it out. Otherwise, inside me I was feeling so bad. So usually there's a trigger, and because this is internal, unfortunately we are not able to see how our hormones, how our those I'll not use the medical language, but we have those neurons, what transmitters in our body that keep reacting when there's a problem, but we are not able to see. That's why in most cases, if you're a patient of high blood pressure, the doctor will usually tell you, will ask you, do you think a lot? Do you have some problems? Please do not think a lot. Speak to a counselor or reduce on your stress. Yeah, sometimes they tell you that because when those things are going on in your body, that pain that you don't see, they are triggering other issues in your life. So these emotions include fear, joy, anger, sadness, and disgust. Yeah. So these ones are our survival tools. One, they help us to know that I have a problem. I mean, if you wake up, if you're sad, it's not coming from out of the blue. Something has happened. And therefore that emotion of being sad is enabling you to begin saying, I think there's a problem. Or if you're happy, there's a reason why you're happy. That's an emotion. Okay. And so they help us to stay safe. Yeah. Because if there's an issue, maybe it's a toxic, maybe environment or relationship, the emotions will indicate to you, and then you'll say, what do I do? Okay. They help you to be stable, to be secure, because God gave us these emotions for a reason. They are not bad per se. So they enable us to meet our needs. Maybe you need to go and speak to someone. You need to go and do something that makes you feel. Sometimes they are confused with feelings. Actually, feelings are a subset of emotions. You first go through an emotion, that the emotion before the feeling comes up, you know? So the emotions are usually stronger. The feelings are like an outcome of the emotions. So without emotions, then we would be repeating some mistakes. Yeah. For instance, if I parked a vehicle in an unsafe place, then they steal things from it. I feel so sad. I feel so angry. I feel emotionally destabilized for some moment, maybe for some 1 day or 2 days. But when I start recovering, I begin thinking, I'm like, okay, next time I'll not do this. Or next time when I speak to my boss like this, they flare up. So next time I know how to handle this. You know, they help you not to repeat the same mistakes. So there are feelings may not be good or bad, but how you deal with them. Sorry. So what are these unseen dangers? Like we say, okay. Let me go ahead. So what are the symptoms of emotional pain? Like I said, even when we hide, this will come up into this. You go through deep sorrow, sadness, or which might result into depression if it's not handled in time. Like doctor said, these things start small. Yeah. Grief, that is not, if you don't allow yourself to grieve, you go into complicated grief, and you know, something that would have maybe ended within a year or two to go on and on and on because you're bottling these feelings inside. You feel intense distress, loneliness, and isolation. These are symptoms of emotional pain. Negative emotions all the time. You go into panic, rage, and if shame. If you live such a life, of course, I'll not go into the what happens, but the truth is this: what they call fight and flight. Every time your system will be into, you know, into worry, like you're into an alert. Yeah, the nervous system is on alert all the time. You know, which is not healthy. So some of the signs, like I said, even when we hide inside, there'll be personality change. If you've been a happy person, we shall begin seeing you either deteriorating. There'll be some changes that can be seen sometimes. You'll be agitated, like I talked about a person in a toxic relationship, and then meets a boss, and then everything's affected. You might go into withdrawal. I will not talk about the many cases because I see clients, I work with clients, I work with students. So some of these things I've seen them practically. A student tells you that I decided to stay in my room, I lock it, and I've missed exams the whole semester. When my roommate asks me, I say, no, I'm okay, okay? But for a whole semester you've missed. That's because you could not speak to someone. So you withdraw. Decline of personal care. Yes, like I said, there's no way you keep up with the glow when you're in emotional pain. The care will decline, hopelessness. So it's important for you to be in touch, for us to be in touch with our feelings. And I mentioned those feelings, those emotions. If you're sad, be in touch with that sadness. What is making me sad? So research shows that when you shut down one emotion, maybe sadness, maybe anger, and you go into that frozen state, it is not just that emotion you are protecting against that gets shut down, but the whole emotional life gets limited, meaning it affects the entire you. So it's also good for you to remember hurting people hurt others. Someone who is not happy, an unhappy mother will not be a good mother to their children. An unhappy wife will not be a good wife to their husband or you know, vice versa. So hurting people usually hurt others because they are not happy, they have not worked on their own issues. You cannot give what you do not have. So first deal with your own emotions. What is hurting you? Find a way of it. So this is the remedy. We call this emotional processing, or how do you deal with these emotions? Okay. One, it's important to identify and label the feelings that are brewing up. How do you feel? We start with simple things like, how are you feeling? When my clients come, I do not have it here. I have a certain chart where we have faces of sad, happy, disgusted, blah, blah. So if I'm dealing with a teenager who is defiant or who is emotionally stable, I'll ask them to show me how they feel. And when they say sad, so then they are opening up. So they are going to speak about what made them sad. Then they'll cry about it. Maybe all along they've been bottling it up. They couldn't speak. Teenagers will say, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my mom. I don't trust my dad. So when they trust you, they will open up. They will cry in the office because they have the avenue to cry, to feel this sadness. You have to face it. There's no way you can dodge it. Why we dodge this? Because it takes some energy on you. You have to open up, you have to feel it, you have to cry if you have to cry, So give yourself time and space to feel how you feel without judgment, Give yourself time to feel how you feel without judgment. Because sometimes when you're feeling sad, now as Christians, you start saying, but how can I feel sad as a Christian with all the love that God has shown me? If I feel sad, meaning I'm not Christian, you are already judging yourself. We said God is the one who gives us these emotions, and therefore we have to process them and understand them, and then ask Him and say, God, I feel sad because so and so it's hurting me. What do I do? Maybe I need to go and face up front and tell them that I'm not happy with the way you treat me, than bottling this up, because one time you can burst. 3, decide how you are going to handle your feelings. Everything needs you to be active, unfortunately. Yeah, why this emotional healing is hard is because it takes some part of you. You have to do some work. You have to be intentional. So either by deciding how you will resolve the problem, if you have control over it. For instance, if I don't know, I will not give an example because of time, but maybe during the questions. So, or how you cope going forward. There are some problems you have control over. For example, how you decide to react to a problem, you have control over it. But we don't have control over some things. For example, COVID-19, okay, it's the easiest to reflect to. Do we have control over it? No. So we have to find ways of coping with it by washing our hands, by sanitizing, by putting on masks. That is finding your way of coping and living with this issue. If someone has HIV, you already have HIV. Yes, you cried about it. I'm sad, I'm what? But later you say, okay, I have it, and it's not going to go away. But does it mean I'm going to die? Let me take my medication. Let me see my counselor. Let me eat well. That is coping, So you have to do something. If it's beyond you, even when you do all these things and you still feel so bad, please don't fear to seek for professional help when you feel you are overwhelmed. Like I said, when you come earlier, it is easy. I deal with students, but by the time they come, very bright students, they have lost out on the semester, they have dropped out, they have they've started taking alcohol, they're already into addiction, and that is more expensive to treat. Takes longer. But when you come, when you see your life is changing, you feel things are not working well, it is cheaper to manage and it is shorter. So it's okay to get help. How do you regulate your emotions? We do this through physical, emotional, and psychological exercises. This is wide. Physical will include you doing some real physical exercises. Sometimes I tell clients that please sit on your chair and breathe through your belly at least 3 times. Deep breath in and out. That calms your brain. It calms the nervous system and you go into the calm. You'll be communicating to the brain that will feel fine, and your nervousness, your anxiety will settle a little bit. The important thing is that give a small dose for it to feel better. Emotional, by you being in touch with your emotions. Understand what is hurting you. Psychological exercises, all this. So this will help us to be calm and be able to make powerful decisions. You can't make a powerful decision when you're emotionally destabilized. Yes, for now, this is where I end. Maybe we'll wait for some questions from the audience or from the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn, very much. Many, many thank yous.
Welcome.
For that, indeed, it's just amazing how complex, intricate, but above all, wondrous our bodies are and how they're related to our mental and emotional health. Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated the way you have drawn attention to the fact that we just might be unwell. And because a disability may be physical, but it might also be just that, emotional, and we're not performing or living the full life that Jesus Christ came that we might have. And so with this understanding, we will make better decisions and generally have a more fulfilling life. Thank you, Evelyn. For now, let's, Dr. Joyce, you have expressed depression as one of the major limiting challenges for most of us. What are some tips and strategies that one can adopt or practice to ensure that, you know, we get out of that limiting situation? Yes, Dr. Joyce.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Evelyn. I think Evelyn has really elaborated much on the emotions, and if we pay attention to the emotions and how to, Evelyn, you call it grounding?
Yes, you can do
Evelyn.
grounding, or you can do
Yes.
mindfulness. Mindfulness
Yeah,
is easier for people.
Okay, so, you know, in order for us to, because I talked about depression, and I'm talking about, we are talking about preventive means, preventive ways. So maybe what we need to think about in connect, maybe continuation with what Evelyn has discussed, we need to be mindful of our bodies because, you know, life is full of stresses. We have lots of stressors,
what you have gone through, what you've studied, in order for you to be able to, wise us up. And may God bless you, your ministry, as you go on.
God bless you too. I have many people have come from the village. Like I said earlier, sorry, I have to leave now. Bye-bye to everybody. Yeah.
Much
Bye.
Bye, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Emotional and psychiatric disability includes many challenges. Some are hidden, some we now can actually understand and see. There are very many conditions. Some are educational conditions brought about by the mental disorders. When our mental health is affected, influenced, or tampered with in any way, it will affect our abilities. It will be intellectual, it will be educational. But that will be a conversation for another day. Right now, we are carrying on with Evelyn Kone Lufafa, who is a counseling psychologist. We will be with you, and thank you for being with us until 5 o'clock. So we have a couple of minutes to go. Evening, I'll let you finish off.
Okay. Right. Thank you. I think this is the time for questions. I'm not going to continue with the presentation, but I think Dr. Nalucha left a question behind that she wanted me to start with. How people can move away. I think she shifted psychological. I wrote it somewhere. I'm trying to look for it. You can use this just for answering some of the questions. Did she ask something about how, like, if someone is in an uncomfortable situation and they feel they are not able to handle? Yeah, it's a very tense moment. Maybe it's relational, job-wise, and because the time when our emotions are not well, we will usually not do very wise decisions. This is a time you might end up forgetting that you're speaking maybe with your boss or with someone who is senior to you, and you'll say anything or behave anyhow. So she moving away is different from withdrawal. You have to note that. Withdrawal again means that you have ignored what is happening and you've decided to coil in and lock yourself up, but do nothing about this issue. But moving away from a situation is a remedy that helps you to calm down. Usually, like she explained, like I said, if we were able to see what goes on in the chemicals in our body when you are angry, because the brain communicates, the nervous system will communicate and say, produce this, bring this chemical, so on, and we need to get annoyed. Things are not good here, you know. The heart is beating so fast, and therefore the mind is now not thinking straight. You do anything. That is why people with anger, people who have flaring anger, you know, and they cannot be able to contain it, we advise them to move away from the situation, because this is when you find a very good, gentle one holding a big thing and hitting his wife, you know, to death, or a child, or anything. So because you might explode and you may not be in control of what you've done during your anger. And remember, anger is not defense. I mean, ignorance is not defense. They will not say because you are angry, so you did this, we are going to forgive you, we will not put you in prison. You still go to prison and serve the sentence. You see? So better when you move away. If you move away physically, you can excuse yourself and maybe go to the field and look at flowers. There's what we call mindfulness in psychology. Mindfulness is not just meditation, but also it's like being in the moment, being present in the moment, and listen to yourself. Maybe look at the birds and keep appreciating the wonderful creation of God. Put on your best music. Some people music, you know, the thing is it's not a one size fits all. So when we are saying these things, you know, say this is what you must do. Do this, do this. No, we are saying maybe if music works for you, put on your best music. Maybe if prayer works for you. If there's some people when they kneel and pray. Some people it's difficult just to be factual. When they are not happy, they will not easily, they will pray, but like they don't feel like words are coming out. So maybe they need to first calm down, then they pray. All this is buying time for your anger. Truthfully, after 2 hours, 3 hours, you calm down and be back to your senses and even ask yourself, why was I angry about this? I mean, is this the worst? Yeah. And then moving away psychologically means you may be in a situation and you're not able to move away physically. Now, to move away psychologically means you are going to intentionally redirect your thoughts to something else and away from this person. For instance, if this person is speaking words that are annoying you, instead of taking them in, you can focus, you can do breathing, you know. This person may not even realize. You can just breathe in and then out. Maybe you count 1, 2, 3 up to 10 as you're breathing in, as this person is speaking. Science has proved it that this breathing technique, very many psychologists use it because it brings calm to the brain. Once you begin calming down, the anger begins melting and you come back to your senses and you realize that, oh, this person has a problem. Maybe they do not know how to control their anger. Okay, so I will not be, because when you allow someone to make you lose your mind, it means you've allowed them to control your life. So redirect your thoughts, redirect your attention to something else in that moment if you can't move out, by maybe breathing in and out, or thinking about something very nice that could have happened, or intentionally moving away in that moment within yourself. Yeah. So those are just techniques to help you survive. They are survival skills because, I mean, 24 hours, 24/7, we live with people and it can never be a rosy moment all the time. Once in a while, we'll be off. But in most cases, our emotions have led us to things that are unimaginable. We'll utter words that you'll never take back. You'll do things that you regret for life. So that's why that technique can help you move away from the situation physically or move away psychologically. And that does not mean you do not attend to it. When you settle down and the anger has melted, this person has settled down, maybe following day, get to them and talk to them and say, I did not like the way you talked to me. Or can we talk about this now that we are not angry? Okay? Yeah. Those are just techniques for survival in heated moments. Yes, Lois, that's what I can say for now. Unless there's anything else, yeah, that is my take.
Well, given the time and the circumstances that I've said all that can be said, I'm positive that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much to discuss. Apart from depression, we have disorders like bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders like the obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorders, social anxiety disorder. It's a very interesting one. Post-traumatic stress disorders, phobias, addictions, and so on. There are very many. And interestingly, there's some figures that we can look at. The World Health Organization reports that 1 in 4 families has at least one family member with a mental illness. Now that's mental illness. What about emotional illness? Because our emotions are many and affected in different ways. Mental and psychiatric illnesses impacts people of all ages, cultures, ethnicities, and geographies. Now, current research indicates that a biological or biochemical factor is likely present in many cases of mental illness. Therefore, the type of impairment, the self-selected, are typically not accurate. That addresses the stigma that comes along with mental illness or the inability to function as one ought to mentally. 2 more facts. Furthermore, traumatic or extremely stressful life events can intensify an existing mood or mental disorder. So there we go. And we all know that we don't invite, we most often may not predict or invite anxiety bringing situations into our lives. They just happen. And so if there is already a predisposing situation situation, it will probably erupt. And finally, individuals with mental illnesses are more likely to contact a member of their church than they are to seek out medical care and attention. So what does that say to us as members of a church that is meant to be loving, encouraging, and inclusive? Because we follow in our Savior's footsteps, and his words are, "Come unto me and I'll give you rest." So these words are a prescription for the healing of the physical, the mental, and spiritual life, as we all find help in Jesus Christ. Today moving forward, we need to remove the stigma that some people have attached to emotional and mental health issues. And we need to recognize the vulnerability. We all have found words of Dr. Alan Handysides, the former director of the Adventist Church Health Ministries Department. And this is the appeal today. Dr. Joyce has explored these issues and given us tips and strategies on how to cope. Evelyn, you've done a thorough job, as always, in
Thank you.
exploring in depth these issues that are pertinent to our lives. Myself and yourself, you, the listener, the question is, how are we going? This is the topic, the theme that everybody is saying in our camp meetings and everywhere. How we go? How are we going to ensure that people who have these hidden inabilities and challenges are part of the journey that we're all going as we go to heaven? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And as sure as day follows night, God will answer that question if we actually open up our minds and be akin to the leading of the Holy Spirit in how we can reach out, encourage others, and reach out to ourselves above all, because we are also important in God's family. How do we take care of ourselves that we are well mentally and emotionally? After that, we can reach out and embrace other people into Jesus's family. That is a question for us today. May God bless us as we answer that now and throughout the time to come. Right now, we will pray. If there are no questions, I don't see any questions. If there are, you could reach out directly to Evelyn and have a chat with her, if that's all right, Evelyn. Is that okay? Evelyn?
Yes, Lois, that is very okay. Yes.
Would you like to say your farewell, conclusive remarks, please?
Maybe I write the number on the chat. Yeah.
Please do.
Okay. Right.
And after you've done that, Evelyn is writing her number now as we dedicate the time and the wisdom that is given the specialists walked us through these very pertinent issues, especially at this time. Okay, shall we pray? Our God and our Father, we thank you for you have done everything possible to see that we live life to its maximum fullness. Father, we have been limited in many ways, but now we know for sure that you want us to live a fully fulfilled life and achieve all the potential you created us to be in this world as we prepare for the world to come. Where we have stigmatized other people, we pray you forgive us and make us blessings in the societies that we live in now that we've been wised up about the hidden mental and emotional challenges that we may be going through or others around us. And so, Father, help us to be better people, better Christians as we walk this journey. Give us your grace and your mercy. Help us to be kind to others around us and be patient with ourselves and others. This, Father, is our humble prayer moving forward in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Amen.
Much appreciated for your time, for coming, Evelyn, and for everybody who's been part of this.
Thank you. Thank you too for hosting.
The other platforms. My name is Lois Machugoka. God bless you.